We have to be aware of the times that we find ourselves in, guys. The enemy is crafty. The devil is clever, and how he is using deception in these last days to even lead away the elite is something that has to be talked about. There's organizations and fraternities and people out here that actually have a demonic agenda that run the world, and Christians are none the wiser. They think these organizations and these cults that they belong to are on the level. They think that they can do things like be a Christian and be a Freemason. But the Bible warns us that thou shalt have no other gods before me. And that's exactly what ends up happening when you join an organization like the Freemasons. That's exactly what ends up happening when families like the Rockefellers run the United States. And we have men like Kent Hovind here who was sounding the alarm. And then after making this video in particular, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for exposing what's really going on in the government and behind the Freemasons and a lot of these organizations, guys. We have to be wise to Satan's devices. Satan is crafty. He roams around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour, and he doesn't ask to come into your life politely. He just kicks open the door once you crack it. We have to understand that Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, and that's exactly what the cult of Freemasonry does. They have Luciferian worship. They worship Satan as their god. We have to understand, guys, that people will fall away. 1 Timothy 4:1 says, Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. What more doctrine of devils could you get that Satan is actually God and God is the bad guy? Jesus says in Matthew 24, take heed that no man deceive you. He also says that false Christs and false prophets would arise and show signs capable of producing tremendous deception. And in these last days, we see that clearly at play here. Now, I don't want to have you guys operating in a spirit of fear because we are not given a spirit of fear, guys. But this video that I'm getting ready to play is complete evidence of just what we're up against out here in this world, guys. These are supposed to be the people that protect us, the government rather, and they're fully in allegiance with demonic organizations that don't care about your religious freedom. They don't care about Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and this is who runs the world. Ephesians 5:11 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. So how are we going to be blending in with a demonic organization? How are we going to be blending in with this world when it's ran by corrupt people? And then they lock up a man like this when he tries to expose it. Let me play you this video, guys.
Heaven is going to reveal. Judgment Day will reveal some things that we're all going to say, wow, is that what happened? We're going to be shocked at the wicked things people have done for the love of money. A lot of people involved in the New World Order. For instance, United Nations, a key player. The property for the United Nations was donated by Rockefeller. He donated the land to build that huge building on American soil. The best thing we could do for American sovereignty would be to get a huge bulldozer like a Cat D11 and push the whole United Nations building into the harbor. Okay? Let everybody get out first, right? But it has no business being on American soil, and America has no business being involved in the United Nations. That is just absolutely one of the dumbest things we ever did, get involved in the United Nations. The World Council of Churches. Now, there is a group.
Now, normally, guys, I'd like to let the video play out, but I have a couple of different talking points that I want to discuss over some of the claims made in this video. Now, there's actually real evidence that the United Nations historical account says that the Rockefeller family supplied $8.5 million to this building to fund this, right? This isn't speculation. This is actually true. So I definitely want to highlight that. Now, there are some other things in here that I want to highlight a little bit more information on once we get there, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this is actually backed by factual data that you can find on the United Nations headquarters website.
I think it's called the National Council of Churches, which is actually a pretty good group. It's either the National Council or the American Council. I don't remember which one's which now, but one's good, one's bad. Okay, but the World Council of Churches certainly is a bad bunch, and they've gotten all the churches together, and they really want to develop a one world religion. CFR is the Council of Foreign Relations. This is a top secret group started to control world events. Okay, the Trilateral Commission is, I believe, America, England, and Japan. Trilateral for 3. they also are another one of these small players in the big picture toward one world government. The Bilderbergers goes back to the European bankers and financiers who control huge amounts of money and really basically control world events. I mean, they have so much money, they will get the government in debt to them, and therefore they tell the government what to do. After all, you're in debt. You do this, we would like you to go invade this country because they're not cooperating, with our plans. And heaven is going to reveal, Judgment Day will reveal some things that we're all going to say, wow, is that what happened? We're going to be shocked at the wicked things people have done for the love of money. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund. They are certainly a key player in this by controlling the finances. Remember, love of money is what? Root of all evil. Keep that thought in mind. The international bankers, the Club of Rome, the communists, of course, the socialists. By the way, communism would have collapsed. It would be just a footnote in history had it not been for the American and European rich guys financing the communist takeover. They wanted the communist takeover because they wanted to have a threat as an excuse for us to build up a big military force. You have to have a reason, why do we need all these missiles? Those things are expensive. Well, we got to watch out for the Russians, And so the people fork over their money to pay for all this military buildup. But if there wasn't an enemy, or at least a perceived enemy, there would be no reason. People would not have gone along with the horrendous debt we've gotten ourselves into. Dennis Cuddy has a great book on the NEA, which is the National Education Association. If you want to get involved and see how that National Education Association has been taken over by communist-minded people who have plans for a one-world government, and they are working diligently to use the education system in America as a tool to change kids, to prepare them to be good slaves in the New World Order.
Now, these are the claims that people try to paint as conspiracy theory, or if these are undocumented, like there's no truth in this. But of course, they wouldn't want you to understand what their agenda is. So what they would do is they would paint this as if he's taking great leaps into conspiracy theories. But this is documented evidence that the Rockefellers and these organizations, the IMF, the NEA, and these other organizations, that they do have their hands in the curriculum that we learn in schools, the indoctrination of us just going into the industrial civilization where we just became workers for other corporations. These are all claims that have been made over the years that, since no one in the powers that be want this to be let out, you're only going to find information that paints this as a conspiracy theory. You're not going to find true documented, this is verbatim where we found the evidence of Rockefeller, or anyone saying that he just wants to make worker bees, essentially. This isn't anything new. This is something that we've been hearing about for quite some time.
You can get into the National Education Association. And I encourage every public school teacher to get out of the NEA. In our seminar notebook, one of the last pages, you should have one of those, is the battle plan, what to do. In that section is a list of some other organizations where teachers can join that are not part of the NEA. They can still have their insurance and benefits and things that the association offers without getting involved in the evil NEA, for lack of a better term. Now, it's the National Organization for Wild Women. They are very much involved in wanting a one-world government. The ACLU, of course, the American Communist Lawyers Union. The Masonic Lodge. Now, here's where I'll get 100 phone calls, I'm sure. I'm prepared for them, believe me, okay? Here is the General Albert Pike, who was during his time 100 years ago, was the world leader of the Masonic Lodge. He said, "That which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is a God that one adores without superstition. To you, sovereign grand inspectors general, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the highest degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Yes, Lucifer is God."
So it is necessary that I mention this point. He attributes this statement to Albert Pike, which I believe that. But there's this thing that's called the Taxil hoax. And it was a late 19th century practical joke by French writer Leo Taxil born whatever his name is, Gabriel Jogan Pages, I don't know, to mock Freemasonry and expose the gullibility of the Catholic Church. Posing as a convert to Catholicism, Taxel spent 12 years publishing fake accounts of Satan worship and a secret Masonic sect named Palladianism before publicly confessing it was all a joke in 1897. It was the first known for writing anti-Catholic and anti-clerical texts. In 1885, he claimed that he converted back to the Catholic Church. He began writing books exposing Freemasons as devil worshippers. He invented a fictional repentant woman named Diana Vaughn to validate his claims. His stories include wild tales of demons, magical rituals, and a global Luciferian conspiracy. Now, this is all the cover-up, right? If you ask me, this is the cover-up, because they don't want you to believe that what's really going on there is satanic worship. They want you to think that, oh, it's all some fake, phony tale that this guy made up as a joke, because what better fun is it to troll some Christians? What better fun is it to poke fun at some Catholics, right? So this is the narrative that they spin, that they put out to then try to mask what's really going on. Because if you really knew what was going on, they wouldn't be able to get some of these big names into Freemasonry like he's getting ready to mention.
Very few Masons understand what they're in until they get to the very top, and then all of a sudden they realize, wow, this is a satanic organization. Ask a Mason if he's allowed to pray in the Masonic Lodge in the name of Jesus. Watch what happens. I gave this book right here, Masonry Beyond the Light, to one of the guys at our church at Marcus Point Baptist who was a Mason, been in it for years. He said, Brother Hovind, somebody told me you don't like the Masons. I said, oh, I've got many good friends that are Masons. They do a lot of good. It's a do-gooders club. But when you get to the top, you realize it's satanic. He said, oh, it is not. I've been in it for years. I said, okay, I don't want to argue with you. Read this book. When you're done, give me a call. We'll talk, okay? He came back 2 weeks later, handed me the book. He said, I want you to know I quit the Masonic Lodge, and I've encouraged about 6 of my friends to quit the Masonic Lodge. He said, it's a satanic organization, isn't it? I said, yes, sir. It certainly. But see, they will run you down a particular track. If they think, you're a religious person, like Billy Graham is a Mason, or was made an honorary Mason, I guess. They will try to get religious people in there and make them a Mason, and they come to the meetings and they think, wow, this is a do-gooders club, et cetera, et cetera. And they never do find out what they're in. They spend a lifetime thinking, everything's fine.
And this is why you have so many people that come to the defense of Freemasonry whenever you speak ill of it, or whenever you say things like this. They think that this is just foolishness. They think that what you're saying is based on lies, that's based on just claims that have come off the top of your head. I understand the desire to protect what's dear to you, but even this organization won't allow you to say the name of Jesus in prayer. It seems silly to me that one would try to deny that this organization is against Christ in any way. Christian prayer is explicitly centered around Christ. So obviously, if participation is neutral, then why would it prevent you from speaking about Christ?
Criswell at the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Pastor Criswell, a Mason. The list of Masons will surprise you. There's some really, really, really good people in there who just are flat duped, in my opinion. They don't have a clue what they're in. Manly Hall, in his book called The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, said, when the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step onward and upward, he must prove his ability to properly handle energy. Scarlet and the Beast. I met with the author of this book. He's a friend of mine in Texas. He has written several books on the Masonic Lodge and how it ties in. If you really want to go down deep, stay down long, all the documented stuff on the Masonic Lodge. He works under a pseudonym, calls himself John Henry. That is not his real name, because he knows they'll kill him if they can find him. That's the way they work, by the way.
Now, with the books that he just discussed, the one by Manly P. Hall, this quotation is legit directly from that book. But it's worth noting that Hall was writing this book before ever becoming a Freemason. So this isn't a book where it's exposing secrets of the Freemasons from a degree of he wrote this while he was a Freemason. Now, he still became one, after writing this book and no corrections were made, but he has this esoteric occultic philosophy that it's in his later prominent Masonic circles, but it does have to be noted that this was written before he was ever in the Masons. I can only imagine that maybe the study that he did for this book probably led him into the Masons. Now, the other book where the guy wrote under a pseudonym, I wonder why he's writing under a pseudonym if this is such a safe, innocent, on the level organization to be a part of.
We can go all day on this. If you want more on Masons, I would suggest you read one of these books. This one's available from Chick Publication, Masonry Beyond the Light. Really good book. John Ankerberg has a great videotape and book on the Masonic Lodge. I've been on John Ankerberg's program. He and I would differ on several things, but he's a great guy. Friend. I would consider him a friend of mine. He's got a good book if you want more on the Masonic Lodge. Bible says in Matthew chapter 5, swear not at all. Pretty clear, right? Here's the oath the Masons have to swear. This is one of the first oaths. They have all sorts of them at every level. The Mason, to get in the lodge, will say, I, he puts his name in here, do hereby swear that I will always conceal and never reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry to any person. If I do, I consent to having my throat cut from ear to ear, my tongue torn out by the roots, my body buried in the sands of the sea at low water mark. Can you imagine Jesus saying something like that?
Okay, so right here on the screen, guys, we have a copy of William Morgan's The Mysteries of Freemasonry. And in this section right here, we're going to be looking at pages 8 and 9 of this document. Now, I know it's really small on the screen, so you guys can't see it very well. So I'm just going to read it to you right here. We see that this is page 8 right here. And then this right here is page 9. And in these last lines of this, it talks about pledging the oath. And it says, I do most solemnly and sincerely promise and swear without the least equivocation, mental reservation, or self-evasion of mind in me, whatever, binding myself under no less penalty than to have my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by the roots, and my body burned in the rough sands of the sill at lower water mark, where the tide ebbs and flows in 24. And I'm not going to read the rest of that because I denounce and renounce. I'm not trying to come into agreement or pledge any allegiance into this organization, even if I'm just rereading the document to you guys. But you see here in its own initiation that it uses this. And here's the thing, guys, that there's enough biblical language in here to make someone think that this is a Christian organization. Because right here it says, in whom do you put your trust? The candidate answers, in God. Since God you put your trust in, arise, follow your leader, and fear no danger. And then they talk about the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. So we see this biblical language being painted in this document in these oaths that they take. So they think that by initiation, it sounds okay, but it's not, guys. The pledging the allegiance and the oaths that is being made in secrecy is not okay.
No Christian should be in the Masonic Lodge, period. Okay. If you are, you ought to get right with God and get out. Okay. I know you think you're in a do-gooders club. I've got some very close friends, some relatives that are in the Masonic Lodge that have been in it for years and don't see a thing wrong with it. They will, Judgment Day. They'll realize their time and their money and their energy has gone to support a satanic cause, and they should have been putting it into God's cause. James chapter 5, the Bible says, above all things, my brethren, swear not. Now, satanic groups will take certain holidays, just like Christians have holidays. Okay? 33rd degree Mason is an honorary title. In the Masonic Lodge, 33 degrees is very important. 33rd day of the year happens to be February 2nd, which is called what? Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, right. Remember the movie Groundhog Day? The guy got to do the same day over and over.
So yeah, guys, this is all very interesting information to me. I want you guys to be aware of this because deception, you don't know you're being deceived. That's the most important part of it. So a person that doesn't know they're being deceived will blindly follow an organization, pledge their allegiance to some fraternities or organizations, all thinking that they're doing the right thing, when all along you've pledged your allegiance to a satanic agenda, a satanic organization. These guys run the world, and they try to silence anyone that comes against them. As we see, this guy did 9 years after recording this video. I wonder why they tried to silence him so much if what he was saying wasn't true. They have the power to paint this guy as crazy, to paint this guy as kooky, to paint him as a conspiracy theorist, and really hush up his message. So I'm glad that, this video came across my feed, and who knows how much of this they'll try to censor. So if for some reason this does get censored, I'll end up putting it on my Patreon or something, but I do want to share this information with you guys and open up the eyes of those that don't know, because I've gotten so much flack over this topic where people call me crazy and call me a false teacher. Some dude that was a Christian saying he was a Freemason made a whole video about me, cussing me out, telling me that I had to prove to him that certain things were being said or that I did because he was trying to come against me on one of the videos I made. Hey, look, do what you got to do to try to discredit me. But when your organization is ran by a satanic agenda, I don't really have to prove anything to you. I got Jesus Christ as my defender. So yeah, guys, I'll leave this video linked in the description. The guy that shared its name's Mike. That's not the actual guy in the video, but I'll still leave the video linked nonetheless to give him credit for his work. But that's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.